It's used to getting back and
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this disciplinary committee. I was supposed to be like this hybrid. I don't talk about anybody online. I'd just like to welcome you all here and certainly to come out on a cold night just close to Christmas. We've got following officers in attendance: Charlotte Hudson, who is the head of housing and community services, and Janet Dark, who is policy and engagement officer. Is there anybody from any local organisations here tonight?
You are. Yes, we three are from the Milton Regis Society.
Very much.
from North Carolina Musical and Square Well. We've actually finished up merging because there's not even put it on. But we're the same view, so thank you for that.
If you wish to speak during the meeting, can you raise your hand and I'll invite you in to say what you've got to say. It might not be straight away, but there may be other people who want to say things that I will bring you in who want to say anything. Just go through a bit of housekeeping. There's no planned fire alarm tonight, but if the alarm goes off, then the aim is to leave the building as quickly as possible, go out the corridor and down the stairs. Do not use the lifts and the front car park, when we will be advised whether we can come back into the building or not.
Follow me, I'll be first.
There's some distance for leaving from. Item agenda 2, any apologies for absence?
Yes, Councillor Carrie Pollard, and I don't know, has anybody heard from Councillor Derek Tomlin?
He has given his apologies. He's away.
Any declarations? Agenda item 4 minutes of the last meeting held on the 26th of September, numbers 274 to 282. Do you have a correct record?
It's not just back, I suppose I'm going to cover the back side for you, so right. So non-pecuniary interest, I also know about the milk price society. Issues that's regarding the milk prices, but I better just stick there.
Okay. Thank you.
So I come late coming there.
Going back to item agenda 4, the minutes of the meeting on the 26th, are there correct record?
Agreed.
Great.
So moving on to community safety.
Yeah, just wait for the slide to come. So this is with a short agenda item, but I'm sure many members are aware of the Swell Community Safety Partnership, which is a statutory partnership that brings together various public sector agencies to tackle crime, disorder, antisocial behaviour, substance misuse, and reduce reoffending. And the council is an integral partner of that partnership. Every year we have to create a plan which sets out the priorities of the partnership, and it's very much based upon, it's a very evidence-led plan around data that we have received from various agencies that look at antisocial behaviour and crime data, as well as all the other things. However, we are aware that data alone doesn't show the whole picture, and a key component of this is to consult with residents, but also particularly elected members, and knowing their areas particularly well and what concerns the residents might be. So today is really just to highlight that we've got a survey that is open, and there's a link on the slide up there, but we can absolutely circulate that with the minutes and to members of the committee. That survey is open until the 3rd of January, and it really is just to sort of capture what concerns that you have in your areas that are of note, and that can be collected and reviewed alongside the sort of statistical data that we hold, and present that to the Community Safety Partnership to decide on the objectives and the work programme really for next year. There will be an opportunity for those that sit on the Community and Leisure Committee, because that is a scrutiny function for the partnership, to have a wider view on on that piece of work as well. But really, it's just a plea to make sure that your views are put there and views of your residents are put forward so that they can be properly considered. Thank you.
Are there any questions you want to ask?
Really question, it's like take this opportunity. Thank Charlotte and her team for installing the CCTV in Milton High Street, car park, and also I'm down. Now, yeah, the other question I'm gonna ask is, obviously, that's been put up on the post. Is when they actually going to be switched on and connected to this? I know you said January,
Yeah, so I was led to believe that there was January time that we were expecting them to be going live in terms of all the connectivity and everything in terms of that. Once they are on, we can get the control centre manager to let yourself and probably by then the newly elected other board member to be made aware when they are live.
Okay, just one follow-up question on that point. I know you said one more car parks, that's one. We really needed, obviously, but all the issues we had to worry about. The second one was initially in for the High Street, but I think that's the one that's now being used in Vicarage.
Possibly, I'm not fully aware of the details. They centre manager's been dealing with the appropriate.
That's right.
I just would like a quick question. With you asking other members to survey, are you sending out emails linked to all members?
So it has gone to all the area committees. What we can do, because obviously this is the last one of all the area committees that ask for it to go out in next week's member email.
Yeah.
So that the link's there as a bit of a reminder. I think that'll be the last one that goes out before it closes. So we can.
I think that's quite useful to do that, just simply because as members we have lots of things going on and sometimes we miss stuff.
No, absolutely. There's a lot going on.
Is there any more questions? Agenda item 6, empowering youth in Swale.
So this is another strategy that falls within my team's remit. So the Empowering You in Swale document, again, this is a consultation piece and we'll go into a little bit more depth to get your feedback today. Previously, we had a health and wellbeing strategy, which really looked at sort of the wider determinants of health and how we as a council could play our role in improving the health and wellbeing of the borough. That strategy came to an end in July 2023, and when we took that forward to the Housing and Health Committee, it was felt that where we can have our most impact was really around that community development focus. And as part of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years has been really to develop the community and partnerships team to work with particularly the health and care partnership, but also with the voluntary and community sector quite extensively, to look at how we can work collectively as public sector agencies and the voluntary sector about trying to improve outcomes for our residents together. It's also a feature within the corporate plan, and therefore we were looking for sort of a vision over sort of the next 3 years, although I appreciate we are at the end of 24 but about how we can take that forward. So I'm sure many people will be aware of what community development is, but just to sort of give a bit of highlight that it really is to enable everybody to work collectively together about bringing about positive change. It's a very much do with rather than do to approach, and it's really about working collectively to promote positive social change within the borough. Linking in with the communities, but also making it relevant for that community rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And really to sort of identify those key issues and how we can work together to improve people's lives. So within the Empowering You sort of draft documentation, there were sort of 4 priorities that the sort of member working group that worked on this came up with. Again, based upon some evidence and some conversations that we'd had some feedback, particularly from the voluntary community sector. So the first priority was really around creating a skilled, educated and working community, because there was a lot of barriers to individuals not accessing employment or the right skills to even start them on that pathway. So that was the first priority that's come out, was around supporting improved access to education and training through continued development of engagement pathways that encourage increased confidence and promotion of activities through a partnership approach. And listed underneath that is some key areas of work that are sort of proposed within the document. So first of all, is supporting the development of good skills, training and apprenticeships in the borough, improved access to education and training, including transport being a significant barrier for some of our residents to access education and training. We've had significant issues post-pandemic around school attendance and other related issues within schools. Young people have been significantly impacted and sort of delayed in their progress through obviously missing big chunks of school and having being educated in a completely different way during the pandemic. And that has resulted in us having quite a high level of not those young people not in education, employment and training, and therefore there's a suggested area of work around supporting those young people to again get back into those pathways which can help them get back into employment or further their education. Moving on to the next priority. So priority 2 is really around continuing the theme of that health and wellbeing strategy and growing our healthy community. Again, Swale's got some quite large and distinct health inequalities, and the priority here is around working collectively to reduce those health inequalities in the borough. And again, very much making it a place-based solution that works with our VPs and our statutory health providers, but is that bit before that stops people needing to access those services, and making the most of our voluntary and community sectors to deliver localised projects and what we can do to support there. So some of the areas of work that have been suggested through the work today is around working collectively to reduce health inequalities in the borough and reduce loneliness, improve access to healthcare, including transport to appointments, promoting access to leisure facilities as well as parks and open spaces within the borough, promoting better living conditions in the borough with the aim of reducing damp and mould in people's homes. So that was the sort of health focus priority. So priority 3 is around empowering stronger, more sustainable communities, and this one really is around to develop innovative solutions for the difficulties faced by our communities, and that also includes the impact certain communities have felt post-pandemic, and also through the cost of living and fuel crises and that sort of day-to-day hardship. So this is those people that have really sort of taken a bit of the knock and maybe need to have that further support around the impact, particularly on the economy has had, and the day-to-day struggles that people are experiencing, and what we can do to support those individuals. And a lot of that work is done with the voluntary community sector to improve the resilience and enable organisations to grow and thrive in the borough. Again, some of the suggested areas of work here are delivering a collective response to the cost of living, fuel and other crises, and that's already quite well established in the borough, and it's about continuing and developing that work further. Data-led interventions such as benefit uptake campaigns and direct mailings promote opportunities. I'm sure many people will be aware, but there's a lot of people out there that actually don't even claim the benefits that they're entitled to and are struggling unnecessarily because of that. So, and sometimes we have access to that information and we can actually identify those people to make sure that they are getting what they are entitled to, which also unlocks other benefits sometimes, such as like free eye tests and those other things for healthcare access that you might have to pay for. Improved information sharing of available services. Again, there's an awful lot of work being done in the borough, sometimes by very small voluntary community sector groups, sometimes by larger, more established. Sometimes people just aren't aware that that help is out there for them and could again alleviate the situation that they're in. And lastly is really around development of a more resilient and sustainable voluntary community and enterprise sector as well. We have some amazing voluntary community sector groups. They're all struggling financially. They've struggled to get secure and the right relevant trustees and things like that. It's about what we can do to get them to work collaboratively together, support each other more, and use that dedicated resource in the most efficient way. And the final priority is around developing strong partnerships for our communities. And as it sort of says on the slide, strong relationships not only with our communities but with our partners are powerful in driving forward change and helping to initiate sustainable, long-lasting transformation. And we're committed to continuing to build upon the footings we have made through existing partnerships and to look to make meaningful new ones that will support vision to tackle health inequalities, promote community safety, reduce poverty and create sustainable communities. Bit of a mouthful, but and then again, some suggested areas of work is around continued development of the relationship with the Swale voluntary community and enterprise sector, delivery of the community safety partnership, which we mentioned in the previous item, and associated projects, develop relationships with the Swales business community to promote corporate and social responsibility, and building a strong partnerships with health partners, including Medway and Swale Health and Care Partnership, and the East Kent Health and Care Partnership, and the Kent Integrated Care Board. So they were the proposals that the member working group came up with. So we've summarised those on the side of this slide, but really it's time to get your feedback. And there's a few questions there really. Is first of all, do you think these are the correct priorities? Secondly, are there any other localised issues that you feel should be included? And then finally, are you aware of specific project services that we can collaborate with through this strategy, just to make sure that we aren't forgetting anybody and we're making sure that we are being inclusive of that. So there's an opportunity to have a discussion this evening, but again, for those people that may be more reflectors and think about it afterwards, we're really happy to receive that feedback as well.
Thank you for that. Anybody got any questions?
Well, a couple. One question is about student. Is there any
I think the issue is that there's a number of challenges, and I think it's actually a national issue. So obviously different schools have different approaches, and particularly on the island, they've had quite a radical in their school system that should obviously enhance that. I think most from the feedback that we've had from sort of those education providers and also through young people services is that there is a cohort of young people that are struggling to engage properly in education because of the impact that they've had during COVID. So it's not necessarily a school that's a problem, it's more the impact that it's had on not all young people, some young people have been quite resilient and been able to carry on, but others have found they struggled, and it could have been that they had a different level of support during working remotely. Some young people's learning styles isn't supported by working remotely. They do need to be amongst their peers in a classroom and have that environment. Yeah, and different social arrangements and things like that. And different people had access to different equipment during the pandemic. Some people, might have had multiple laptops, lots of internet access to be able to do that. Other families might not have had that opportunity, and even though schools were providing laptops, there was a little bit of a delay and things like that. So it's really trying to unpick some of that a little bit more and actually listen to what the young people are saying around what they need to overcome those. The schools do have official catch-up programs as the government put in place. So there is obviously work being done within the school environment, but there are some people that have obviously left school as well and missed out, which is more around the need the neat population.
Just the other thing was on the property aspect of it, mold, etc. And,
Yeah.
as you know, every place is property dense, no places. The private landlords, some are quite bad, or mold,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, so we've been quite fortunate that we've been awarded some grant funding through MHCLG now. I don't think it was MHCLG when it was awarded. But to do some dedicated work on damp and mould. So we have an officer is post, it's only a part-time role, but his role is to provide that education and support to residents. Some of the damp and mould is lifestyle. You know, it's built up because people are, you know, quite rightly this time of year drying, washing indoors and not ventilating properly, or not necessarily having the heating on because they can't afford it. So there's some education work that's being done, and a lot of work being focused on that. But equally, sometimes it is the state of the property and it is the condition that's in, and therefore we have enforcement powers that we can take forward. And so there's a whole programme of work that is available that we are absolutely highlighting at the moment around that, and training up some like community champions. So again, other people might go into someone's property and identify that, and then they can make a referral in or the place. And equally things like if they're presenting with like asthma, for example, at the GP or even within schools, it may be they're living conditions that are exasperating their condition. So again, referring into the scheme through works with GPs and things like that. So that's part of that. That's pros part of that work.
Thank you, Sharon.
Charlotte, I just wanted to say that we're, and must be as leader of this organisation, we're really not very good at celebrating what we do well. So certainly there about enforcement, that's really good enforcement results. And whilst we publicise it on the website and so on, not everybody is necessarily aware of that. And when you see things like headlines that say £12,000 fine for the landlord, and people might then naturally think, well, so the council are just creaming in thousands for themselves. But all of that money gets reinvested. It's being reinvested into more proactive work and that we're doing. So I just wanted to put it out there whilst we're here, and it really is commendable the work that the team have done on that. So thank you.
Thank you. So we've had a new, well, got an interim private sector housing manager at the moment who was previously the senior environmental health officer. He's been done quite a lot of work there, and he's been doing an incredible job to increase that awareness around that and taking appropriate enforcement action. So I think the structure that he's put in place, we will see you know, an opportunity to make those changes for landlords, but where they don't make those changes and they don't support that work, then the enforcement action can absolutely be taken. And as you say, that funding is ring fenced to put back into the service, and whether that's on more enforcement officers or education officers, it goes back into that. It's ring fenced to work on and improve those conditions in house.
And again, I'll just reiterate that it's really important that we also get a message out there that enforcement isn't always just the big stick. It's about encouraging people to make the right decisions and to do things right by their tenants. And it's when they fail to do that, that's when the enforcement element steps in with a much bigger stick, frankly. So, thank you. Sorry.
Well, we go to the Bob Fowler allotment, around housing. There's only 9 of us using it. I just thought, I'm going to and I just wonder if it work for housing. A lot of them have got big gardens in the area we are, but other people might find it beneficial because it is a garden. It's not just rows of allotment. It's just wonderful. We could do with some more people just, and you do relax.
I mean, it's exactly those sorts of things where they're very accessible to people who come along.
It's got the toilet there, it's got everything there, sort of sunbed.
Everything fine.
It's everything, every tool's there. And nobody's used it.
That's exactly the sort of things we should be.
Yeah, as members, it's things that we can actually feedback through, more to get involved, so.
It's tools, isn't
I'm glad you were courageous enough to bring it forward. Well done, Gordon, you've been that push.
Yeah, we do our little bit, but
Mm.
it needs a bit of life. We calm down. It feels,
Simon?
Yeah, just on the, the enforcement and obviously everything with that, it's really, really good that we're chasing up these, shall I say, less desirable landlords. But the one thing that does concern me is with more enforcement and more people actually making complaints about their landlord, how are we working with other organisations to try and stop these landlords issuing Section 21 notices out within a month when they've made a complaint?
That's a really tricky issue. I mean, obviously there's legislation going through Parliament at the moment to get rid of Section 21, so that is one thing that is being done. But it is really tricky. We try to work with landlords. If somebody, our private sector housing team will refer them into our homes team as a prevention case if we think that they are at risk of homelessness. Sometimes the property conditions may also make them homeless because it's not, we'd have to put a prohibition notice up or something like that. So there is a link between the enforcement and the homeless link there. Sometimes it's very difficult to prove, but we will obviously challenge it if we think it's being done deliberately. And also that is a massive motivation while the Section 21s are going. And that is just a matter of time. It is coming through. So, but yeah, most of our landlords in the borough are very good. Fortunately, we have a handful that aren't, and I think kind of need to get hold of the good ones.
You can get rogue tenants too that deliberately
You can.
make their premises bad so that they get rehoused.
And again, the legislation is there to evict people through antisocial behaviour, through not paying rent, through all of those things. So landlords will still have those protections. It's just that no fault eviction is proposed to go. Yeah, quite rightly, it is both sides, and sometimes our enforcement team absolutely are kind of stuck in the middle trying to work out what's the true story.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. Where are the gardens you're talking about?
Go down Brewery Road and it's
Yeah.
We just,
Right next to the Bowls Club.
nearer to what's that?
The Bowls.
Never know it was there.
It's at the back of the Bowls
Roughly
Club.
between two houses, you'll
It's
see a
right
little
in the corner.
pathway. Yes, you need to know where it is really, don't you? Got the green flag.
It's just got hidden.
a secret garden.
Up down Regis Crescent.
Yeah, it's a lovely place.
That's another issue about signing it for people.
So maybe it's signage, people know that they're there.
Once you're there, you can
Yeah,
see
that's
it's there,
absolutely you
but
can, yeah, you've got to
getting
get there
down
first.
to that bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go there, and most people like quiet there. amazing, that
Karen?
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first one was the communications. That is very important when we're looking at. And I know the communications that the council do has improved in years that I've been a councillor, especially with the road shows. And with the benefit uptake as well, making sure that people know what they're entitled to. My second thing was concerning school attendance and need. Sometimes, well, quite a bit will get into that. So it is encouraging to see that we are going to be doing something for our young people who are not in employment. So with that, who are we going out? Are we asking for responses from people like the autism? There's autism groups, because obviously that can also be an issue as well. It affects the whole family, obviously, with poor attendance and etc. So I'd be interested to know how we're going to go around that. Yeah, so the work today has really been trying to be, again, a bit data led and look at the evidence of what the problems we're experiencing in the borough. Sarah Jane Radley, who's Community and Partnerships Manager, is leading this piece of work, has done some consultation with the voluntary sector and asked those. So I'm not aware of things like the Autism Apprentice have responded to that. If these priorities are accepted, and Janet's helpfully popped onto the last slide about this is the last area committee and we're going to collect the responses after that. And it has been out for a wider public consultation. And the Community and Leisure Committee will consider the draft strategy in March. Then we can start developing some of those work streams. And I think as we delve into some of those work streams, there'll be natural partners to identify, is it, you know, certain segments of young people that are more impacted than others and that we need to do a little bit more detailed work. So I think we can make sure that that is covered off, but I completely agree if it is the whole family that's impacted.
if I can come back with that, because obviously I've seen, I know you're probably one of the first intent for attendance. And again, that trickles down to every aspect that we've got, so we need to be looking, and I know we will look at these series to show it. I just wanted to highlight the fact that this is something we need to really.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do people realise, you know,
You've actually retired this time.
homeschools, I realise, because I was doing utilisation programs, things in the class. When at school, they're educated at school about I didn't have many children coming. So seeing what's happening to this child in the news at the moment, I do worry about them. That they're missing out. Nobody's recording.
No, and I think that's an important. I'll make a note of that just to make sure we identify that.
I'm sure they get a letter, the parents,
Yeah,
but they haven't got the child tends to teenage their parents. Well, because they've been taught at school the importance of their health.
yeah, we can certainly make sure that we do that cohort. And I think again, post pandemic, there has been an increase in homeschooled children as well. And again, that might be the right setting for some young people, but again, it's making sure that we don't exclude them from the work that we're doing, and we can make sure that, again, it's like you say, access to the information and making sure that they are considered as part of the young people cohort.
Sorry, Chair, can I come back really, really quickly? Young carers, are we making sure that we're looking at the young carers that we can have in the to make sure that so
See, in terms of Ross leakage and homelessness, there was some really good work taking place in relation to this. Obviously, that has potential to link into all what we're talking about. Is that likely to continue? Is there much of a target towards that?
Yeah, so I think this is sometimes where, you know, there's multiple strategies. So we do have a housing, homelessness and rough sleeping strategy that is still running.
Yeah.
And it's quite up for review. I should know the dates of this, so I'm feeling miserably here. I think we're in year 2 of that, 'cause we did the annual report earlier in the year. So that work is still continuing.
Brilliant.
At the moment, we are waiting to hear about funding allocation for our rough sleeping service. So at the moment, we're only funded until March because that is a MHCLG funded work stream. And so the work we do, particularly around rough sleepers, is non-statutory and is funded through that grant work. It's quite expensive amount of funding. So we're hoping that this side of Christmas, along with all the other announcements, that we hear about that, and that then will continue as is. But until we understand what funding that goes alongside that, we need to understand what we can achieve. But they do dovetail into this. Things like the cost of living partnership work absolutely helps people stop them coming home, get people into employment again, will help people. You know, rents can be quite high here. If you're not working, it's really hard to afford the top up that you would need to from the local housing allowance, for example. So those things will aid people into having a more comfortable lifestyle and prosper a bit more in our borough.
Yeah, just a quick question, Charlotte. I mean, talking about homeschooling, do we as not be interact with social services and any of the schools with regards to safeguarding of children that are being homeschooled?
So that's
Obviously that's been in the news even tonight with the young girl that was killed by her father and stepmother.
So that responsibility would sit with KCC because they have to understand who is homeschooled and obviously have social care responsibilities. So we don't directly, if we obviously came across any concerns, we, you know, if staff witnessed anything that when they were doing a home visit say something else, we have our own corporate safeguarding processes that we would report it. And equally, if any residents raise concerns with yourselves, then obviously that could come through our safeguarding team, and then we would work with KCC to pass on those concerns for them to investigate. But yeah, no, it doesn't really sit. It doesn't sit with us. It sits with KCC as the responsible authority.
Just briefly, if I can, what through you, Chair, what you picked up on Charlie with the homeless and all the rest of that. Need to commend the team on the Sittingbourne Town Centre task force for the work that they've been doing over the last few months. And there's, well, I think it was yesterday it came through, the next meeting of the Town Centre task force group is on the 15th of January at 1 o'clock, I think, or 1:30.
Ashley, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just echo that about the work that you've done with Town Centre, because it's been really good. We've got various services together along with the police, which is like very welcome. Especially it's about a year ago that actually we had this meeting here with the police where a lot of this was raised, and so it's good that we were able to coordinate a lot of that action. Just on the point about homelessness and rough sleeping, do have the readout from the rough sleeping accounts?
We do, but I don't think we're allowed to publicly say what it is until, because that's the official national one. So we do have it. I'm just not sure if I can tell you.
That's right.
I can informally tell you. I'm not allowed to publicly say what it is.
That's fine.
And actually just basically preempted my question. Sounding the last
Well, it was the official count was the last count. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Mark, I was just going to say, I think it's an absolute excellent advert for this Sittingbourne Area Committee because, as Ashley said, and underplayed it quite a bit. Let's not forget, it was from you people that this town centre initiative emerged. So it was with this committee. So without that, without your input and kind of support those things, go nowhere, but it just goes to show what we can achieve if we all try and support each other and work together, because we haven't got the good ideas, you haven't, and it's in a forum where we can challenge each other in a consider, you know, a respectable manner. So I think, yeah, I'm really, well, I think if anything, actually underplayed that and underplayed his role in bringing it all together.
Very much so. I mean, sitting here, I was thinking whether we can help promote this by having a regular item, agenda on the item to invite speakers, such as from the care and health service, from housing, from enforcement, just so that we get a two-way dialogue and just have it as a way of building the empowerment as well by, we only meet, 4 times a year, so there'll be 4 speakers on specific areas, which could then promote that. And what people think, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think particularly on enforcement, because we've got various enforcement services in the council, it's quite good for people to have a bit more understanding about the various strands of work that they do, because all of it's really important to a lot of the different strategies that we have, because there's the support side that sits alongside all of the enforcement services as well. Might just take parking enforcement out of that, but there's a whole other side of it where there's a whole range of support that goes in around that to help people before it even needs to reach the point of enforcement action. And so the two go side by side, and I think exploring that a bit more at the area committees would go down really well.
Yeah, I think, and to look at things like rough sleeping and things like that, strategies we've got, I think it'll make it much more feedback and a bit more clarity of what goes on. So we'll think about that going forward in the next meetings.
I think it's really important to make sure it's relevant to, because like going back to the what issues are your local communities facing that aren't generic, because sometimes, you know, for example, we have director from the Medway to our Health and Care Partnership coming to the Health and Housing Committee in January to give an update, because it's very theme based at a strategic level for the whole of the area. Whereas if it was a Sittingbourne area based issue and the focus on that to make it different from, I suppose, the service committees and
yes,
sort of tailor those.
I would see it being focusing on Sittingbourne and like issues for High Street and things like that, things that affect everyday life to residents of Sittingbourne.
Yeah.
And if we were to invite speakers in like that, they would be giving some form of lead of what that conversation would be.
Yeah.
I think that's something to, sorry, James.
Yes, I was just going to say that communication between us and you, if you like, is key to making everything happen. Could the area committee meetings be advertised better? Perhaps be in a bigger venue? They have been, haven't they? Then.
Yeah. But she said a bigger venue then obviously this meeting.
Kemsley Concert Hall, Janet, too, didn't we? Kemsley Concert Hall.
Yeah, we had it at diverse.
The more people who come, the more ideas you.
Do regularly advertise social media, but I realise I'm doing that. I would encourage all members to push it as well within their own boards. That would be really useful.
To be fair, it's something I could put out as part of my message in the Inside Swell notes. So it just, so that is, but we sincerely appreciate the fact that you always seem to come along, which is great. And it's about how we encourage others to do the same.
The difficulty with the Sittingbourne area committee is obviously it's us parish. I've got a distribution list. Organisations. I don't know. Do you receive my emails telling you about this? You can let me have your email addresses. I can add your list, your names to the yeah, and any other contacts you'd have, I can add to that as well. But yes, it is. You know, we try to get the message out as much as we can. Does it say? I know our comms team do put out press releases, whether they actually the papers pick it up and print it. That's a different.
Quite often they do.
We try and do it in the venues this time of year. It's very difficult to find somewhere, so it's this central mall, if you like. We do try and do it on the full meetings to be in different venues, so we do try and engage with as many people as possible.
There's only a few of us anyway, so you wouldn't need
Just quickly on venues, yeah, I mean, we back up places in Milton regions. But we probably to find a place for Milton Hall. This is just a green hall, it's got a group like the church hall, but I believe they're the IT. Set up wasn't suitable.
We need reliable Wi-Fi
That's what, yes, yeah.
and also parking.
Oh, I don't know what's a suggestion. Yeah,
About the bowling hall.
that's a point actually, Bobby, I could approach them, I suppose, yeah.
That was bowling.
Oh,
You know if they have Wi-Fi. If anybody's got a contact details, that would help.
We can find that out, I'll let you know. Yeah.
If I may chair, I think the only problem, not putting the kibosh on it, but I think the only problem maybe used in the bowling centre will be the noise. Because it's a big open building, and if they are actually bowling there at the same time, they're trying to hold a meeting.
Yeah, we've had that before where I've booked a venue in the room next door, we've had a tap dancing class.
Can I just bring us back to looking at carrying? Well, is there any more comments that anybody's got before we close this the agenda item? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna slightly mess the agenda up. I'm gonna do matters arising towards the end of the agenda. It will be because as we go through this, it may be obvious why, because there are things from this conversation we just had now, we might have to add them on to the matters arising, and I'd rather spend time looking at that. So if we move down the agenda and do the public forum, is there anybody who wants to say anything? I know Jackie's got something, but before you start, would you like to raise the issue that you had?
Yes, basically just to do a brief thing, I've been involved in statistics and distribution analysis and doing surveys. So most of me, we either with the government or other stuff. I've been, there was some report come out this week that Southeastern Railway and it seems to be national, being taken back into public, they're actually losing a massive amount of money. Now I've got my own ideas of why from a survey I've done, but my survey was statistically too small to be significant. What I would like the committee to look at for council is to look at doing a bigger survey. Now, because I could actually sort of basically rough design a survey. I could actually do it, but I don't want to do it. What I would like to have, because I think this is going to be about, it could run into thousands of people who need to ask, and I certainly couldn't do that. Is using a couple of, I could design, so initially mentioned design, use some maths students or statistics students from some of the local schools to actually, I could explain what I want to them and then give them an idea. Get them to do a test themselves and then they could see what happens. That would probably be looking, I think probably could be from about 5,000 or 6,000 survey areas from.
And what would the purpose of survey be? Just for trains or would it be local area?
No, it's a local area. It's to see why Squirreline's losing money. It shouldn't be, in my opinion. I don't think the service pattern, I think the problem with Southeastern is they don't know the service they're running doesn't meet the demand. And there seems to be reluctance to change anything. But I think if we had a proper survey done and it produced the results that I expected, then that would help a lot. The other thing is going to talk about is, but it's the buses. I've been in contact with both the bus companies. A lot of people complain about charcoal buses. They just say, they just never turn up, or they just go when they feel like it. What they don't seem to understand is that when charcoal took off from Aviva completely messed the timetable up. And charcoal I don't think they've got the ability to be like it, or more importantly, they haven't got the enough drivers, and they certainly haven't got enough vehicles to run the service properly. That's the stagecoach of, from what I've been in contact with them quite recently. I've put some ideas. Now, my understanding from what I've got back from them is they would quite happily produce more, improve bus service. In fact, I believe they're going to increase the bus service to Canterbury from here. I don't know the details, but I've got to try and find that out. But what they said, if they were given, when you put a bus pass or a government issue pass, they get roughly 80p for that.
Yeah.
Now, if the government's saying it's going to be £3 from this thing, I think they should, if they got £3, that would mean they could actually form more drivers and get more vehicles.
Let more people in.
But what they also want, all the bus service here station is run from Herne Bay. So they finish up on to run an empty bus from Maidstone to Herne Bay. They would like a depot in Sittingbourne, or even somewhere, not a massive one, just somewhere where they could produce, do minor maintenance and store the buses. I think because to my mind, the more better bus service you run, the more people are going to use it, and that would sort of. I mean, that's the problem is they're saying, "Oh, that bus is 25 minutes." Of course, you look at the traffic.
I think we all agree that the bus service and transport in Sittingbourne needs to be improved without any doubt. Sorry, one second.
Yeah, so I was just going to come on the swirl line that just talking about, and some of the issues around that are, when they say it's not profitable, revenue protection. So there's so many that jump on it and don't pay, quite frankly. And that's only hearsay. I've got no empirical data that says that, but from a number of people that I've spoken to have said that's one of the key issues. Also about public safety, so people won't use it because there's a lot of antisocial behaviour allegedly on that line and that section, and so that impacts on it too. So I think it's a multifaceted thing really, with transport police, revenue protection officers, and so on, that will probably help to assist with that. Jackie, in the
Charlotte just wanted to come in on that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, in terms of sort of the requests around surveys and things like that, I know that there's been, and it's not my area of work, so I would need to go back and weigh, but we have an active travel coordinator within the council that has done a lot of work around analysis, and transport hubs and uses of public transport is a key component of that work. So I think it would be quite useful to understand what data and information that they've already got, and whether any additional survey work would be beneficial to complement that. Because I think if we're honest, even when the council puts out a survey, we don't get 5,000 responses. So to make it
8.
Yeah, so I think there is a danger of it not being a deal, even if that was something led by the council. We also have done quite a lot of evidence work for the emerging local plan, that also has a lot of transport studies and things in there. So there may be some information and data that's there. I'm sure there are gaps, which, because no data set is perfect, but there may be something that we, by speaking to those officers, that we could identify if there was something that that we needed to do. And I know we, as a council, jointly with Health and Care Partnership, recently put a bid in South Eastern's fund, unfortunately, we weren't successful. And that was really looking at these hospital and doctor's appointments through not being able to access it through transport. And that would obviously again help with the 12 branch line,
Yeah.
because we know a lot of those appointments are on the island and things like that. But, and that was again to do a data piece of work. We weren't successful in gaining that funding. So I think there is bits of work going on, and it may be that we just do a little bit of a review and come back to you.
I was interested in one thing I've got in is absolutely right, because I have the same experience. And all the information is coming exactly the same as that. So the other thing that I've missed is people are saying, I'm not going to get the train when you get to Sittingbourne, you have to change, and you have a 55-minute wait because the train just left as yours come in.
Yeah.
And the worst one is when the St Pancras train comes in, because the far end of the platform, the Sheerness train's the other. By the time you open the doors, people haven't got enough chance. They've just got across the platform before they get.
I'm just asking a question. Do we actually have what's Borough Council, meaning any engagement with the railways? I mean, we had, and I'm about to land a couple of office members in it here. We've got the bus forum, we've got the slow transport forum, but do we actually engage with the train service providers?
We used to, and you can do. I'll send you the link. There was one recently. I think we're at the beginning this year. I'll send it to you now.
That be
Because every time you put anything, you'll say, "Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence?" So this is what the idea was of doing a survey. And when I did a survey 20 years ago, when it was paid for by, it was then Octavo.
You're still waiting for the first response.
Eh?
I said, you're still waiting for the first response after
No.
20 years.
No, I didn't.
This is something in the melting
I
pot.
actually finished off with a response rate of 17.5%. Thanks.
That's in the melting pot.
That's all.
Possibility won't be such a consideration. So something like the Sheerness line, more of a soap.
But I think a decent timetable, because of the problems I've suggested, could actually finish up making it profitable.
I think what we need to look at is some form of forum to engage.
Yeah.
And say, sorry.
Goodness, Sue, I think the problem, half the problem is not so much the railways, but certainly with the buses, is that the bus timetable doesn't work when people want to work. For an example, if you've got to get to, I don't know, the outskirts of town, say Tenham or wherever, Newington, Industrial, say whatever it might be, for work at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's no buses. There's no buses until about 7 or 7:30 that go out that sort of way. But again, if you talk to the bus companies about that, they'll turn around and say, well, there's no demand for it. But how do you know if there's no demand for it if you don't run a bus? It's the chicken and the egg situation. And in Sittingbourne, I would say we are slightly better serviced by buses than the eastern end of the Isle of Sheppey, which is absolutely diabolical for bus services. I mean, long time ago, I had to go to Eastchurch for personal business. And it took me to go on the train over to Sheerness, get a bus from Sheerness Terminal to Eastchurch, have my appointment. Then I was standing around waiting for an hour and 20 minutes before a bus was available to come back. And that round trip took me 4 3/4 hours. So it really is a chicken and egg situation.
Like the prison visits, you can't, not to expect people who want to go there and visit the family or friends, whatever, in prison. It's a difficult access.
It is.
Without using taxis.
If you speak to the bus companies about it, they'll just say, well, there's no, if you approve the demand for it, we'll put on a bus.
Well, basically, it's that difference between chalk and stagecoach is that it's joyful, the basic don't seem to want to know. They're only interested in running schools, the school service, and then, oh, we might have got the thing, where stagecoach is much more happy if they can get the depot, and they could seriously start doing something.
Just quickly, railway was my old industry before I became a council time. First the Sheerness line, before COVID, there was a half-hourly service day long. There was 3 trains a day from Sheerness to Victoria and back in evening peak. All 4 trains have been looked at again, passenger figures and demand. But I think we're fine, not just with the Sheerness branch line, it's all routes now. Because there's more people working from home. Passenger figures have drastically dropped.
Yeah.
The passenger patterns changed.
It's a service.
In actual fact, it's quite interesting. I still have contacts with the industry. It's the weekend travel. No, the leisure travel that's increased with the money making on the railway.
Yeah.
People going into London and summer down to the coast. But yeah, good idea. But I'm just trying to point out that the passengers are drastically reduced on that line. But probably we should look into that.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a proper discussion on it because there's all sorts of other factors as well around whether peak fares during the week are even worth having any longer as well. Because like you've said, people work a lot more flexibly. So actually the first off-peak service is generally really busy now because people will work for a bit and get that later service and are basically wanting to avoid paying the extra the extra cost that would be involved in a peak service. So it all has a knock-on impact around people's patterns of usage, and I don't think the rail industry is really cottoned on to how best to maximise the spread of passenger traffic across the service. And I raised it at a previous meeting when we were responding to the KCC draft transport plan, which was some of the services obviously have fewer carriages now that go into London, and that has a knock-on impact with the Sheerness thing in terms of some of the services, as you say, when they come in and they're the long trains with more carriages, and you get a rush of people trying to get onto a less well-served line into Sheerness, and obviously if there's delays coming from London, they hold the rail the service to Sheerness back as well, and that has a knock-on impact. Then people come from Sheerness back to here as well. So there's real issues that need to be looked at in the round for that service.
I must admit, I know people who work from home and in London and they work a week, but it'd be a week over a weekend. They'd have a week ticket from Wednesday to Tuesday, just so they cover that. So that, I think, transport operators have got to realise that people have changed their working habits. It's not 9 to 5 Monday to Friday anymore. Just a suggestion we're sitting here. I remember it was about just over a year ago when we had the bus companies come in.
Yeah.
I wonder if we've invited them in again.
Yeah, certainly
Invite them in and let's hear their story again and give them our input. So we invite the bus companies in February if they're available.
And Chair, maybe at that same meeting, invite a representative from South Eastern.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I'm just giving me information. I'm going to try and see if we can engage with South Eastern. We could try, but I imagine it's going to take a few months of coaching it to come in. So,
yeah, I actually I went to when I studied at the LGA. So I went to a session which was about trying to integrate some of the services around bus and rail, and basically the situation we ended up with the privatised buses and privatised rail service, they don't want to integrate, they want to compete. So trying to get bus companies to work alongside the rail timetables, they deliberately do not wish to do it, which is part of the issue you then encountered. And so with the rail services coming back into public ownership and with the government wanting to give local authorities more of a say over bus, it would be quite good if we could try and get both of them, because it's an opportune moment to try to say as a local authority and to put across to KCC as well that we expect them to try to integrate these things so that it makes it more viable to use buses to then access rail transport as well. Of some of the areas like Tennant and Newington will frequently see that being an issue. You cannot try and plan your commute around getting on the bus to drop you off at that station without them facing a 25, 40 minute or longer wait for the train. And that's always been a deliberate choice, because bus companies want you to use them for your whole journey, and the rail companies aren't going to bend to what the bus do.
Yeah, I think it's a case of getting those organisations in so they get the feedback from us. If they wish to be, so to say, that ignorant about their business plans, they're not talking to the customers and certainly not talking to service providers such as us, then it's our job to get there and get them in and sort of talk to them. So I'd be keen on that. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, there is evidence that certain stagecoaches in South Eastern are working together in Eastern, because you can buy a ticket that allows you to go on get a bus. When you get off the train, you can get on a bus. So you got one ticket that just go around. It's only about, it's a day return. It's about £1 extra, and you go anywhere in a particular area. So Thanet, for instance, you go anywhere. You go to Margate, get off the train at Margate, and you go around Thanet on the Thanet area on one ticket, and it's only say £1 or £1.50 more than what would. So there is evidence, and you've done it in a couple of places.
I would say, yeah, what you're saying isn't rocket science. We just need to get them talking.
Yeah,
And
I
if
think
this forum drags them in to start that, then
I think certainly Stagecoach should be much more. The person that dealt with who was at the last meeting was Matthew Arnold, and he's the one we're getting the information from. I looked for some ideas, and he said, and we said, oh, thanks to them, we're seriously looking at them. So they've actually got looking at certain ideas.
that'll be good.
The other, I had somebody send me, one of my colleagues sent a question about what we need. Now the government's given some pot money to improve bus services. When's that going to be activated? Can we get put pressure on KCC to do it as reasonably possible? Because my concern is that KCC are probably going to drag their feet over it.
What I would say is, what I would do is write a letter on behalf of the committee tonight to ask what KCC are doing about the extra money.
That's great.
Sorry, you were going to say.
Well, just lastly, briefly, it's probably inevitable, this big house, large percentage of them use London, and we've got to think ahead. The rail services and bus services.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
I mean, are they all going to go?
I would say any of our big
Road
developments that look like tapping need infrastructure. And need infrastructure as a major course, which is part where if we were doing the supporting empowering union as well, we start to look at social care and healthcare coming to talk to us, it will have an impact on those housing developments. And it's not just
transport.
It's not just done piecemeal. We can try and coordinate and get something together. That's what I would say. But I do understand what you're saying.
Just because one of the problems is the internet. Now, I've got two laptops running, and the speed coming into my hub is just under 1.2 gigabytes, and that's because it's a Virgin Direct one. All the other companies saying, "Oh, we can get you high-speed internet," and they're talking about 300 or 400 megabytes. It's useless. You know, people working on big spreadsheets going across, sending things off there. They need that.
I think there's a lot of infrastructure needs doing, not just that, not just internet and other things.
But I mean, that's one part of where working.
Well, just want to just slowly bring this together, to end this and bring this together. My recollection is, and I did say that I was probably going to land some people in it, we've got representatives on the bus forum. Is that Simon or Tony? I can't remember. Has the forum met? Is there any feedback from that?
Yes, I've got an apology. I couldn't get to it last.
Have you got any minutes or anything that you could forward on? And the swell transport? You sign?
Interpretation, JTB.
You're,
Well, JCB, yeah. Yeah, it'd be a case of, the next attendance session. So, yeah, I put on the agenda, on the JCB agenda, which I'll take away and get an item on integrated transport.
Yeah.
We'll get someone from KCC there to talk about integrated transport and so on. Take that away.
So just to, just to check the actions from this site on this discussion. John, you mentioned checking the act, all notes to find out that data. Yeah. So that's one action. Action for me is to invite bus companies to come into the next meeting if possible. And then Chair, you agreed to contact KCC to find out what's happening with the government funding, and that's needed for improved bus services.
If everybody's happy with some things.
I'm going to send you some,
And you're going to
I'm going to send you some details as well, and I'll send you a other thing I've done these, which is and the contacts. We know the contacts.
I mean, I'll attempt to engage with Southern Rail and see what we can get there.
Yeah.
That and looking for.
You know,
Just as a quick aside, Chair, if we were inviting Bradley Davies, Chalkwell, and you're inviting Tim Lambkin from Travel Masters, don't tell one what other than the other ones coming because they hate each other with passion.
Thank you for that, Simon.
mm.
Moving on, to do item agenda 9, any local issues to be raised?
Well, there is one thing, we're having a lot of trouble if there's it on the lights at night. And it's scouring, you know, into the football pitches.
Only you want just
Come back on that one, and you're quite correct. As I just said earlier on, the CCTV cameras now being installed in Redbridge Road yesterday. After people reporting it, I kept stressing on the 101, people be doing that. So that particular point, the camera is there now to monitor that issue when it's switched on.
But how does the camera stretch when you could they lose an area, you know, where they can't be seen?
Not, because I'm not 100% sure where it is sighted and around the distance on the camera. The cameras are pretty good. And obviously when the operator's taking control of it, they can zoom in and out a lot more effectively. But again, it's there as a deterrent. Unfortunately, the one thing with CCTV is it does displace people, like you said, you know, they could go to another part of the area. But really it's around that sort of engagement and trying to work out what they do.
It's so grateful for that CCTV. But it's quite a big park and it's two different areas really.
It's not particularly well lit. And
No,
that's
we're not.
where-
Quick one, Chair, they do the country quick, close. I think I'll phone down to take the picture.
Yes, they do. Yeah, yeah.
The first stage it was put in, you can see how close they came in. Someone else came onto it about that point this afternoon, actually, it was along Bedford Road. I did say that once, so I've got access to this beginning and see myself. Once I know they're switched on that particular camera you're referring to, I'll go into the centre myself and have a look
And see.
to see how far it does back.
Yeah.
That's, you know, the work that's been done on.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, I've been, what's happened is that the footpath between Wimmer Road and Cherry Cross is incredibly dark. And there's people hammering down their bikes, and the electric scooters. And I've been hit twice in about 3 days. One of them managed to just avoid, no lights on, nothing. And you can't see them. And I got the other people, and I was talking to some other people on there. They've been hit as well. It is a major problem.
I say, is it something that you could report? It's by the 111.
No, I need to do, but I will do in future. But I'm trying to get people to just monitor. So but it seems to be getting.
Just a couple of questions to say, isn't there a community officer for Milton in that area?
Yes, there is, but I don't know.
So whether we raise it directly with him is an issue. Question.
We can, yeah, he's a joint one as well.
And through you, Chair, what the police always say to us, certainly to me, when I raise issues with them, if it wasn't reported, it didn't happen. As simple as that, because they haven't got the evidence then.
Yeah.
To move things forward. But you're saying there, Jack, you've been hit. You need to be telling them.
Well, that's really it. Just nearly hit. I mean, one place I just managed to get up the way.
I'm just going to say, we have got the police coming to the next meeting. We're planning to fight. And I remember from the last time we met, they did say about data driven. And if they don't know it's there, they won't.
I should have reported it.
I was going
Yeah, I will do it.
I was going to say as well, in terms of nuisance bikes, and I don't know if anyone's seen, but this government is introducing new legislation. So instead of the police having to apply for a court order to seize a bike, they're going to be able to just seize it there on the spot.
Yeah.
So that is something that Yvette Cooper is trying to push through at the moment, and I'm sure will be massively welcomed by the police.
The statistics are swelling are quite high, I mean, this.
Well, I was just going to say about a bit of the footpath of. Do no, I've not really used it at night. Actually, it was an area that was getting quite as well. I remember that being raised. Are there any street lights near it? Because it is something that I've had to raise recently in Hemsley about, and it's actually quite interesting what they can do, KCC, in terms of repositioning lights that are nearby and really turning up the thing. I know that you'd have to be careful, it being a residential area, that people don't want the interruption of a street light, but there's actually all sorts of interesting things. So we could go and have a look at it, Tony, and see what there is, and if not, ask them what sort of things could be looked at, because it's something also that just being able to have more light there so that you're aware, it does regulate people's behaviour somewhat as well. Thinking they can just tear through a dark area means that they don't have any consideration for people, and it being lit makes people being a bit more considerate about people. So, yeah, let's have a look next time we're there, Tony, because we can always see about what KCC can do with any existing provision around making it a better lit area as
There's
well.
a couple of people there who've got lights, their own lights on, but they only come on except for some when you walk past them. But that's.
I think it'd be quite useful if Ashley and Tony go and have a look and then get.
Yeah, we'll do that, Tony.
Yeah.
So
Actually, the name of where the
It's Windmill to Cherry. So,
Windmill to
yeah,
Cherry.
I know where that is.
Yes, one of our residents, Sherry's Ward, has raised it with us. I'm not 100% sure. I think it sits just within Woodstock Ward. But there's a pathway that runs from Runar Court down the side of the Appleyard Sports Ground. Goes round the corner, past the cemetery, and comes out. I think it's in Hanover Close.
Yes. No match, it comes up by the cemetery.
Yeah, well, that particular footpath, I don't know whether that's KCC property or whether it's SBC, but there's no lighting down there at all. But this chap said that sometimes he sees undesirables down there. And we've said to him, have you reported the undesirables to the police? But he says he has, but whether he has or not, I don't know. But yeah, that's if we could find out whether that's KCC or SBC, and maybe looking at the some sort of lighting facility down there. Thank you.
I think on KCC's website, There are where we can report problems.
That'd be useful.
Yeah, we did like that.
Okay, straight away.
All in the minutes if we put a link to that.
Yeah.
People at least if they got minutes they can.
Yeah, sorry, so going back to it, so I did put my hand on my actual. Which met in September on the next, I haven't got the minutes on me, as I look at my book, but the next local bus forum is means at 2 o'clock on the 30th of January. And obviously, if you want us to report back to the. Yes, there'll be plenty of time then.
And that once I'm going to back up the agenda to some of the matters arising. The reason I moved it down is I thought there would be a few things we would want to put into that matters arising, making that we can actually discuss things in the future. But we'll go through what's here at the moment and then I'll mention that at the end.
Yes, so that's the first item, heritage issues. We have and society, Regis Conservation Area, the current status of that, and the Newington Conservation Area. I don't think, unfortunately, we've been asked to not provide printed minutes, but I think I might have ones. Yeah, so the full detail of those conservation area reviews is detailed in there. And there's also a notice about area of special control and advertisements. So that is currently ongoing consultation, should be ready by the spring of 2025. Further updates on that at the next meeting by the team. Periwinkle bill, we've got an update. That now falls under the UK SPF team, and main works that commenced on that now, and there's likely to be some landscaping planting delays due to the seasonal works. But that's ongoing, and again we'll have another update at the next meeting. Local heritage, Swell local heritage list. The panel have met, and they have shortlisted the items down to 149, I believe, on the list. And it will.
I'm going to say that was passed at the last PNR committee, so that is now obviously that is happening. 149.
Yeah.
And there's a video that's gone out as well. The heritage champion talking through some of the bits, so that's quite good.
Sort of the other day.
Yeah,
It's a good video.
yeah. Sittingbourne Tennis Club, the toilets, there's been some progress on that, and there's an update from officers. So they've identified some section 106 funding for works for the changing rooms. Officers are waiting on the final quotation for proceeding with the works. Tennis Club are being kept informed, and officers are working with the current leaseholder to identify options for the club to be able to use the refurbished changing rooms. And the dual use issue with football weekends is being reviewed. And then the last item on here is the invitation to
the tennis club. Yeah, I mentioned me in the reviews. I have talked to the officers, and the only thing they see holding up at the moment is going out to tender. The money's there, it's going to happen, and they are very keen that the issues around dual use and leasing aren't an issue. They will be able to resolve them. So I think in the spring to summer, we will see a better facility there. It's not on time, but it's happening. It's just taking a while to happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that, I'm glad to hear about the tennis club having the community. I think 2 or 3 times they had to come to this committee to raise that they just weren't getting the communication. I think that was just the bit that was letting it down, really, was getting various interested groups together. And I think the message from the last area committee was very clear that we just wanted that communication to be improved. And I was heartened to sort of hear at the last full council meeting, there was an update from the chair of the Community and Leisure Committee in response to a question around this. So I'm glad to see that there was an update for us here at this area committee on that, because it just sort of sounded like something that really shouldn't, it was easily overcome. And, you know, the collaboration that's gone on since that is really welcome. So I'm just, again, it sort of underscores a point that Tim made earlier about bringing these issues to area committees and really making sure that the various teams come together and just move these things forward.
Tony, do you want to say that?
Yeah, so on the heritage side of Milton Reed, High Street has been clarified to me now that the heritage line has been moved clear of 3 Walnut Court. It's a stupid line, so that's now totally clear of the heritage line. There's an issue with a planning application. The reasons contravened being in the heritage area, I think a line just went across the about 6 yards across the southern side of the roof. And so that's been tackled. And my referring to the Milton Regis and it's my previous colleague actually got it involved. Anthony Vowles, so basically there's still a clarification whether there's going to be get that changing room sorted out there, or is this correct?
That there's been some funding for section 106 that's been identified for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so just on the Periwinkle Mill thing as well. I'm on the steering group for the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and so the decision was taken a few meetings ago to sort of give money to that project because they also secured funds and we didn't want them to lose that. So we wanted to be able to, you know, put that money forward so that the works could progress. But there's been a lot of interest because people have seen what's, you know, that there's a bit of activity down there. It would be really good, and I've asked for this at the steering group meeting, but nothing really has happened. It would be really nice if we could have some comms pieces from the council around where the UK Shared Prosperity money is being spent and where these projects are taking off, what the plans include, because the public's really interested. You see a bit of activity at the site, you want to see what the proposal actually is, and there's been various iterations for what that mill might produce, and it's not going to be all singing, all dancing at this stage, but it will secure the site, it will open it up a bit more, and it will, you know, enhance the look of the space as well. So it'd be really nice if we could get something out as a council. It was a request that I made at the steering group. It'd just be nice if we could reinforce that here, that something goes out to show people what will be achieved at that site.
I'm going to speak to Mansfield and see what's possible, and he can liaise.
Yeah, maybe we could get a list of projects that have been allocated funding from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and where it's either been completed or it's in progress, just so that people can see for the Sittingbourne area what's been funded. Because I know some other groups really benefit from that, or the rural funding as well.
I think it's a good idea. And
So the last one, I think we probably have that already, but the police were invited along to this meeting. There's currently quite a changeover of personnel at Ipswich Police at the moment. So although they know we're inviting them to February, they couldn't commit to it until the new personnel are in place. But they know that I'm going to come back to them and see if there's any availability. But I will keep asking until somebody is available.
That was senior
Senior management level, yes.
How is this shared prosperity fund funded? Where did the
That was government funding. Yeah, so it was a national scheme, and there were various it was basically how all money was dished out by the last government, was everybody had to put in bids and compete against each other, and we received a tranche of money here. So a bit like the Levelling Up Fund as well. So we
Generally, who
received,
produced the best glossy brochure?
yeah. So we received a considerable amount of money, but you have to allocate it through certain tranches over a 2-year period, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, so it would be nice to see, because some projects are basically at completion, some are in progress. So it'd be quite nice if we could, one, as a local authority, communicate that a bit better. It was a request that I made at the steering group, but I'm not aware that much, unfortunately, has really been done. I know they have other things that they have to work on, rightly so, but it'd be nice if we could get some of that out there. But maybe if we could even just get a list here of the stuff that's been receiving money in the Sittingbourne area, that would be quite good. Maybe the other committees might want the same thing.
To come and give us a talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put too much pressure on the team, because I know that they are stretched at times of like trying to get, just spend their hours getting stuff over the line. And I don't want to compromise any of the schemes if they're not able to sort of speak at an early enough junction. So
Should invite them, but if they can't.
Yeah, maybe something could just go to, maybe something could just go to Kieran Mansfield to sort of say what he is allowed to share with his group at this stage about what's being funded or completed or whatever. That'd be really good, because I think.
So you, Chair, with respect, probably if we can get them on early, because.
Yeah,
it's at a time of the evening.
yeah. I appreciate that.
You said the Charlotte in there.
No,
I did ask her if she wanted to go.
no, that's fine. I was here. I was here to support the meeting.
It's just, well, the reason I moved this down is I just wonder if we need to put a regular item relating to transport, buses, trains, something that we monitor, in that we invite somebody in to discuss transport. I know I'm probably gonna. But I mean, thinking about, like we talked about buses coming in, see if we can get the train people coming in. I just thinking that we know communication in Sittingbourne is awful, but I think we need to tell people that, and bringing them to this forum may be a way of doing that. So I do think transport should be a matter to rise and be dealing with.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
So, and please feel free to shoot me down. So Eastern Area Committee, they have a regular item on flooding, and dare I say it, they have a member who leads on that. I don't know whether, if you wanted to have a regular item, would you want to have a member who is the lead on transport and who would feed into what the updates are each meeting? It's I'll throw that open.
I would say, but it's a natural kind of train buffer or anything.
I knew where you're flipping.
Well, could we,
More.
as
I don't
Karen,
want more work.
well,
Yes, that's fine.
just
Karen sits on
really,
that.
as Karen's offered to obviously update us about the bus forum thing, let's see what we hear from that meeting and go from there, because I don't want to give anything more to any of the other members. And I'm happy to sort of look at this, because we can see.
I just think we need to be trained. I just think we need to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I basically would be more than happy that we get an update from Karen from the bus forum, and then if we can then see how we want to move following from that into how that interacts with, for example, the train service or whatever, I'm more than happy to take something forward.
It's a matter to rising, so it's regularly there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say that.
Yeah.
The second side, the other thing is that's what struck me when we were talking about certainly empowerment as well, whether we need to invite care providers or social housing associations in just to give us an overview of what they're doing and what the issues are. So we've got.
Myself and Karen meet with Southern Housing once or so, and I have made the offer to them to contact you, Mark, about coming to one of the meetings. Yeah, so they should be primed to the idea, because what's quite interesting is obviously where Optivo has gone through a merger into Southern, I felt it was a good opportunity once the merger was complete for them to talk about what they're actually doing here. And I don't want it to cross over too much with the work that they'll be doing with the Housing and Health Committee, but a large bit of their housing stock for the South East region is in Sittingbourne, or it's in Swale, and a big chunk of that's in Sittingbourne. And the reason I wanted them to come here is because they do various initiatives with the community. So I know the Bob Fowler allotment, they had some involvement in that and giving some money forward. But there's various things they do in the community as well. So it really would be a good opportunity for them to come to a forum like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, like you're saying, it being housing and health, it should be Sittingbourne focused.
Yeah.
So the thing, like we talked about enforcement, we've talked about housing, we've got care and health. How often do we talk about our GPs or anything? I'm just thinking whether we need some form of forum for that. Jenny.
Could I ask you to send me contact?
I will do, yeah. I was going to say I can send you the email address for them.
Yeah, I would take it. It'd be good to have somebody from the housing association.
We may get more people along as well. If we can advertise
We've
that.
got two, we've got Southern, we've got Mudge, haven't we?
Yeah.
You've got two in Mill, and it's a old chestnut of mine, which I will bring up. Their policy, every time we get somebody moving out of Mill to get the social housing, in the old aspect of it, we've got housing list like this, and they block the property. More, less and less, so that's a question of.
So this is obviously, that's all I was going to write. So I think I want to put more things in Master Rising so we can be more focused on autism facilities. Is there any other questions? Move on to item 10, which is the master referred to as other service chairs and committees. We haven't got anything from that. So that's it. So that is apart from to say thank you for attending, and the next meeting is at the Apple Yard on the 27th of February. I declare the meeting closed.
Next year then?
Yes.
Well, it won't be this year.
You don't know, Jack.
Well,